The morning sun poured through the tall glass windows of the Sterling and Company headquarters, a formidable glass tower rising amidst the bustling heart of the city. Its sleek, reflective surface mirrored the awakening skyline, catching glimmers of orange and gold as the day began. The lobby gleamed with marble floors and polished brass fixtures, a testament to wealth and influence that seemed almost overwhelming. Yet amidst this grandeur, a quiet figure moved with methodical care. Amara Johnson, dressed in a simple blue uniform, clutching a mop and bucket. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with the sterile whiteness of the marble. Her keen eyes scanned the polished surfaces with a mix of pride and resolve. Though her role was that of a cleaner, Amara carried herself with a dignity that defied her station. Her footsteps were silent yet purposeful as she moved from hallway to hallway, dusting and wiping, unnoticed by the sea of suits rushing past, their hurried voices and clicking heels echoing in the cavernous space. The office workers glanced at her with dismissive eyes. Whispers and smirks followed in her wake like a faint shadow. She heard the faint snickers, the clipped tones of mockery, but she held her head high, focusing on the task at hand. No one knew her secret. Beneath the humble uniform and worn shoes was a woman who owned this very building, this very company. Amara's presence was like a shadow in the pristine domain of Sterling and Company, a silent force invisible to the corporate elite. The smell of lemon polish and the hum of the air conditioning filled the air as she worked, but beneath it all was a tension, something waiting to break loose. Today was not just another day of cleaning, it was the start of a transformation that would shake the foundations of the company. As Amara wiped down the gleaming reception desk, the cool touch of the marble beneath her cloth reminded her of the power she held, hidden from those who looked down on her. She smiled faintly, knowing that soon the walls of prejudice and cruelty would crumble under the weight of truth. The faint buzz of fluorescent lights overhead seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the building itself awaited the coming change. Amara's life outside the tower was a world apart from the sterile offices and corporate meetings. In the modest neighborhood she called home, the air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant sound of children playing. The streets were lined with aging brick houses, their facades softened by climbing ivy and colorful flower beds tended by neighbors who exchanged warm greetings. Her small apartment was neat, filled with the warmth of handmade quilts and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the subtle scent of lavender from a small potted plant on the windowsill. She rose early each day, her routine precise and unyielding. Before dawn, she brewed a cup of strong black tea, the steam swirling in the cool morning air, carrying the comforting bitterness that sharpened her senses. Her hands, though rough from years of work, moved with practiced grace as she prepared for another day at the tower. Her reflection in the cracked mirror revealed a face marked by resilience, high cheekbones, bright eyes that sparkled with intelligence, and lips that rarely smiled but held a quiet strength that spoke of battles fought and won. Amara wasn't always a cleaner. Years ago, she had been a successful entrepreneur, owning a chain of businesses that thrived under her leadership. But betrayal and corporate sabotage had forced her to relinquish control, retreating into anonymity to protect what remained of her legacy. The sting of those losses lingered beneath her calm exterior, fueling a quiet fire that refused to be extinguished. Her days were filled with small acts of defiance against the world that had tried to erase her. She volunteered at a local community center, teaching young girls about business and self-worth. The laughter of the children was a balm to her soul, a reminder that hope could bloom even in the darkest places. Their eager faces, full of dreams and possibilities, gave her purpose beyond her own struggles. Despite the hardships, Amara's spirit remained unbroken. The worn mop and bucket in the tower were not symbols of defeat but tools in a larger plan. She observed, listened, and learned, waiting for the moment to reclaim her rightful place. Every evening, after the city lights flickered on, she pored over documents and financial statements, hidden beneath the guise of ordinary housekeeping. Each number, each report, was a piece of the puzzle she was assembling, a puzzle that would reveal the truth and restore justice to the company she loved. The atmosphere within Sterling and Company was brittle, charged with subtle hostility that Amara felt like a chill against her skin. The office workers barely concealed their disdain, their whispered conversations dissolving into laughter whenever she passed by. A few even left notes, cruel jabs about her place in the company, scrawled on post-its and slipped under doors with deliberate malice. One day, as Amara polished the conference room table, she caught a glimpse of a group of executives huddled in the corner. Their voices were low but sharp, the words slicing through the quiet air like knives. "Who does she think she is, walking around like she belongs here?" One sneered, eyes narrowed with contempt. "She's just a cleaner. Always will be," another replied, smirking with cruel satisfaction. Amara clenched her jaw, the insult stinging deeper than any physical blow. Yet, beneath the surface, a fire ignited, a determination to rise above the petty cruelty that surrounded her like a suffocating fog. The bullying escalated over weeks. Someone spilled coffee on her cleaning supplies. Another time, a chair was kicked out from under her during her break. Yet Amara absorbed the pain silently, never retaliating, her eyes always watching, always calculating. The sharp scent of spilled coffee and the rough texture of the broken chair's wood became symbols of the battle she quietly waged. She noticed the subtle fractures within the company, the whispered disputes, the veiled power struggles. She saw the cracks in the polished facade, and she knew that these weaknesses could be exploited. The very people who bullied her were blind to the fact that she held the ultimate authority, hidden just beneath their feet. Amara found solace in small victories. A kind word from the janitor, a smile from a young intern who saw her as more than a cleaner. Every moment was a reminder that she was not alone, that change was possible. The buzzing fluorescent lights overhead seemed to dim as tension mounted, and the stage was set for a reckoning that no one could have foreseen. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled in the distance and raindrops tapped rhythmically against the glass, Amara found herself alone in the CEO's office, a place she rarely entered. The door had been left ajar, an unusual oversight amid the usual strict protocols that governed the company's upper echelons. Curiosity and purpose combined as she stepped inside, the scent of leather and polished wood enveloping her like an invitation. The rich aroma mingled with the faint trace of expensive cologne lingering in the air. Her eyes scanned the room, settling on the heavy mahogany desk cluttered with papers, and a small, ornate wooden box that seemed out of place among the corporate clutter. Amara's fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the box, her heart pounding in sync with the storm outside. Inside, nestled among velvet lining, lay a brass key, intricately engraved with the company's emblem, and a series of numbers she recognized instantly. The key gleamed softly under the dim light, its weight promising secrets and power. This key was more than a trinket. It was the gateway to the company's private vault, where crucial documents and records were stored, a place where secrets were kept and truths could be uncovered. The texture of the brass was cool and smooth, grounding her in the moment. With the key in her hand, Amara felt a surge of empowerment. This was the catalyst she had been waiting for, the tangible proof of her hidden power, the symbol of her rightful place within Sterling and Company. The storm outside intensified, lightning illuminating the office in stark flashes. Amara knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and resistance, but she also knew that she was ready. The hidden key was the beginning of a journey that would expose the bullies, shatter illusions, and reclaim the dignity stolen from her. The quiet cleaner was about to become the unstoppable force that no one anticipated. That evening, in the quiet solitude of her apartment, Amara examined the brass key under the soft glow of a desk lamp. Its weight was reassuring, a tangible connection to her past and future. The warm light cast gentle shadows across the scattered folders and papers she had secretly gathered over months, financial reports, employee records, and contracts that whispered of hidden truths. Her plan was clear, to use the key to access the vault and uncover the evidence needed to confront the bullies and reclaim her authority. But first, she had to prepare carefully. The stakes were high, and any misstep could cost her everything she held dear. She rehearsed her story, anticipating the skepticism and disbelief she would face. Her voice was steady as she whispered to herself, "I am the owner. I have the proof." The words felt like a mantra, strengthening her resolve. The next day, Amara returned to the tower with renewed determination. She navigated the hallways with an uncharacteristic confidence, ignoring the usual sneers and glances. When she passed the group of executives who mocked her, she met their eyes without flinching, the brass key safely tucked in the pocket of her uniform like a secret weapon. During her break, she discreetly slipped the key into the pocket of her uniform. Every sound seemed amplified. The hum of the air conditioning, the distant ringing of phones, the shuffle of footsteps. She was acutely aware of the tension building within her, each breath steady despite the pounding of her heart. Amara's first move was to find a moment alone in the vault's vicinity. Using her knowledge of the building's layout and security schedules, she timed her approach perfectly. Her heart raced as she inserted the key into the lock, the tumblers clicking in response with a satisfying precision. Inside the vault, rows of files and boxes awaited. The smell of aged paper and dust filled the confined space, mixing with the faint metallic scent of the lock mechanism. Amara began pulling out documents, scanning for the proof she needed. Each file was a step closer to justice, each page a revelation. Outside, footsteps echoed. Someone was coming. Amara's breath caught in her throat as she prepared to hide, knowing this was only the beginning of a dangerous game that would test her courage and cunning. The days that followed were marked by increased scrutiny and subtle sabotage. Amara sensed that her actions had not gone unnoticed. The bullies intensified their harassment, now aware that something was shifting beneath their feet like an approaching storm. One afternoon, her cleaning supplies were vandalized, mop handles broken, buckets cracked. A note was left behind, scrawled in sharp letters, "Stay in your place." The harsh words lingered in the air, a cruel reminder of the battles yet to come. But Amara refused to retreat. She fortified her resolve, knowing that the path to justice was never easy. She began to forge alliances with a few sympathetic employees, quiet souls who had also felt the sting of exclusion and cruelty, their own stories etched in silent pain. Among them was Marcus, a young IT technician who admired Amara's quiet strength. His eyes held a mixture of respect and hope as he offered to help her access digital records and increase her reach within the company's systems. With his assistance, Amara uncovered evidence of financial misconduct and discriminatory practices hidden deep within the company's files. Yet, obstacles mounted. Surveillance cameras seemed to focus more intently on her, and whispers about her unusual behavior spread like wildfire. The weight of isolation pressed down, but Amara's spirit burned brighter, fueled by the support she found. She found solace in small moments, a shared smile with Marcus, a whispered word of encouragement from a janitor who had worked at Sterling and Company for decades. These connections reminded her that she was not alone in this fight. The shadows cast by the bullies grew longer, but so did Amara's determination. Every challenge was a test, every setback a lesson. The storm was far from over, but she was ready to face it head on, her resolve as unyielding as steel. Amara's resilience began to draw others out of the shadows. One day, as she cleaned the break room, she noticed a hesitant figure lingering by the coffee machine. It was Lila, a mid-level manager who had always kept to herself, her usual guarded demeanor softened by uncertainty. "Hey," Lila said softly, avoiding eye contact. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for how some people have treated you." Her voice held a vulnerability that caught Amara off guard. Amara looked up, surprised by the genuine warmth in Lila's voice. "Thank you," she replied quietly, the sincerity of the moment settling between them like a fragile bridge. From that moment, an unexpected friendship blossomed. Lila shared stories of her own struggles within the company, how ambition and politics had made the workplace a battlefield, forcing her into silence and compromise. She became a confidant and ally, offering insights into the inner workings of Sterling and Company that Amara had never accessed before. Together, they strategized ways to expose the bullies and protect the vulnerable employees. Lila's access to meetings and internal communications complemented Amara's growing collection of evidence, their combined efforts weaving a tapestry of truth. Their friendship was a beacon of hope amidst the hostility, a reminder that change was possible when people came together. The laughter they shared in stolen moments behind closed doors became a shield against the bitterness surrounding them. Amara's world expanded beyond cleaning and survival. It became a community of courage and solidarity. The bullies' power waned as the truth began to ripple through the company's corridors. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered. The bullies sensed the shifting tides and prepared to strike back with renewed ferocity, unaware their grasp was slipping. One evening, after a particularly grueling day filled with snide remarks and deliberate obstacles, Amara sat alone in her apartment, exhaustion weighing heavily on her like a thick blanket. The rain tapped softly against the window pane, mirroring the turmoil inside her, a steady rhythm of conflict and resolve. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. Memories of her journey flooded her mind, the betrayals, the losses, and the quiet victories that had sustained her. She realized that her strength was not just in her ownership of the company, but in her resilience and her refusal to be broken by the cruelty of others. Amara stood and moved to her desk, opening a notebook filled with plans and reflections. She wrote down her thoughts, the fears and hopes that propelled her forward, the ink flowing like a river of determination. "I am more than what they see," she whispered to herself. "I am worthy. I am powerful." The words echoed in the quiet room, a solemn vow. This moment of personal growth was a turning point. Amara embraced her identity fully, shedding the invisibility imposed by others. She understood that courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it, a flame burning bright in the darkest night. The storm outside intensified, thunder rolling through the city like a drumbeat of change. Amara felt a surge of clarity and purpose. Tomorrow, she would confront the bullies not as a victim, but as the rightful owner of Sterling and Company. Her reflection in the mirror showed a woman transformed, quiet, unyielding, and ready to reclaim her destiny with unwavering resolve. The tension within Sterling and Company reached a boiling point during a high-profile board meeting. The sleek conference room was filled with the company's most powerful executives, their faces masks of arrogance and skepticism. Amara, disguised in her cleaner's uniform, slipped into the conference room just before the session began, clutching a folder containing the damning evidence of misconduct and bullying she had painstakingly compiled. As the executive settled, Amara's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. The room buzzed with arrogance and dismissal, the air thick with unspoken power struggles. When the CEO began to speak, a sudden blackout plunged the room into darkness, followed by a projected video on the screen that seized everyone's attention. The footage revealed the bullies in action, harassing employees, manipulating finances, and undermining the company's values with cold calculation. The voiceover was Amara's, calm and unwavering, exposing the truth with clarity and precision. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as the executives scrambled to regain control. The projector illuminated the brass key resting on the table, a symbol of Amara's authority in the turning tide. The crisis was undeniable. The bully's facade crumbled, and the room was thick with shock and outrage. Amara stepped forward, her voice steady and commanding. "I am Amara Johnson, owner of Sterling and Company. Your actions betray the very foundation of this company. It ends now." The room fell silent, the power dynamics shifting irrevocably. The breaking point had arrived, and with it, the promise of justice and transformation. In the days following the confrontation, Sterling and Company reeled from the revelations. Investigations were launched swiftly, and the bullies faced consequences ranging from suspensions to termination. The company's culture began to shift, slowly but surely, like the first light after a long night. Amara took on a new role, not just as owner, but as a leader committed to fostering respect and inclusion. She worked closely with Lila, Marcus, and other allies to implement policies that protected employees and promoted transparency. Meetings buzzed with fresh energy, and the scent of lemon polish was now mingled with fresh hope and a renewed sense of purpose. The brass key, once a secret symbol, became a reminder of resilience and courage. Amara displayed it proudly in her office, a testament to the journey from invisibility to empowerment. It gleamed under the soft office lights, a beacon of change. The bullying ceased, replaced by a cautious respect and, for some, genuine admiration. Amara's presence transformed the company's atmosphere. The once cold and sterile halls now resonated with collaboration and trust. Though challenges remained, the foundation for a better future was laid. Amara's story inspired others to speak out and stand firm against injustice. Her life had come full circle, from the shadows of cleaning closets to the bright light of leadership. The company she owned was no longer a place of cruelty but a beacon of possibility and renewal. Despite the victories, Amara knew the battle was far from over. The remnants of the old guard plotted quietly, unwilling to relinquish their power without a fight. Whispers of resistance and subtle acts of defiance reached her ears, like shadows lurking just beyond the light. Determined to solidify her authority, Amara convened a meeting with her closest allies in a secluded conference room. The air was thick with anticipation as plans were laid out meticulously, the weight of responsibility heavy but shared. "We need to be ready for anything," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "They'll try to undermine us, create chaos, but we have the truth, and we have each other." Marcus nodded, fingers poised over his laptop, his eyes sharp with focus. "I've strengthened our digital defenses. Any attempts to sabotage will be traced immediately," Lila added. "Communication is key. We'll keep the employees informed and engaged, building a network of support that can't be broken." Amara's gaze fell on the brass key displayed prominently on the table. It was more than a symbol. It was a weapon in this final stand for justice, a tangible reminder of their shared mission. The tension was palpable, but so was the unwavering commitment. They rehearsed responses, anticipated challenges, and fortified their resolve, each word spoken a brick in the fortress they were building. As the city lights flickered outside, Amara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders, but also the thrill of imminent victory. The final confrontation was near. The moment to reclaim her company fully and silence the last echoes of cruelty was within reach. The day of reckoning arrived with a crisp chill in the air, the city's breath visible in the morning light. The boardroom was filled with the company's top executives, the atmosphere electric with anticipation and unease. Amara entered, her presence commanding attention despite her modest attire, her eyes steady and unyielding. The bullies sat stiffly, their faces masks of defiance and disbelief, their power waning under the weight of truth. Amara's allies flanked her, a united front of strength and integrity, their quiet confidence filling the space. With steady hands, Amara placed the brass key on the table. "This key represents more than ownership," she began. "It represents accountability, justice, and the future of Sterling & Company." She presented the final evidence, emails, recordings, and testimonies, laying bare the extent of the deception and cruelty. The room was silent, save for the sharp intake of breath and shifting seats, the weight of revelation sinking deep. One by one, the bullies were confronted with their actions. Some stammered excuses, others lowered their heads in shame, their masks shattered. Amara's voice never wavered. "This company belongs to all of us, not to those who seek to tear it down." When the last word was spoken, the boardroom felt transformed, cleansed of poison and ready for renewal. The bullies had been unmasked and defeated, their reign ended by the woman they once scorned, now standing tall. In the weeks that followed, Sterling & Company began to heal. Amara led initiatives to rebuild trust and foster a culture of respect. Workshops on empathy and inclusion filled the calendar, and employees found a renewed sense of purpose that spread like wildfire through the halls. The once cold and sterile office spaces warmed with the laughter of colleagues and the hum of collaboration. Amara's office, adorned with personal touches and the brass key, became a symbol of hope and resilience. She made a point to recognize those who had supported her quietly, Marcus, Lila, and the janitor, who had offered words of encouragement. Their contributions were celebrated openly, reinforcing the power of solidarity and collective strength. Amara herself felt a profound transformation. The scars of past betrayals remained, but they no longer defined her. She had reclaimed her identity in her company, emerging stronger and wiser, her spirit unbreakable. The bullies, now removed or rehabilitated, were replaced by leaders committed to integrity and compassion. Sterling & Company was no longer a place of fear, but a possibility and growth. Amara's journey inspired many, a testament to resilience and the courage to confront darkness with light. Months later, the city basked in the golden glow of dawn, the Sterling & Company tower reflecting the soft light with renewed brilliance. Amara stood on the balcony of her office, breathing in the crisp morning air, the scent of jasmine from a nearby garden drifting faintly on the breeze. The brass key hung prominently on the wall behind her, a reminder of the journey from invisibility to power. Around her, the company thrived, its halls filled with respect, inclusion, and ambition that pulsed like the city itself. Amara smiled softly, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. She had faced bullying, betrayal, and doubt, yet she had emerged victorious, not through force, but through resilience and grace. Her story was no longer one of a cleaner hidden in the shadows, but of a leader who transformed a company and inspired a community. As the city awakened below, Amara felt a profound sense of peace, The future was bright, shaped by hope and the unyielding belief that every person deserved dignity. She turned from the balcony, ready to face the day and all the possibilities it held, her heart steady and full of promise.